peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. By the age of 21, Lil Tjay was one of the most recognizable young voices in New York hip-hop, a melodic rapper with a fiercely loyal fan base and a streaming catalog that kept growing. Then came June 22, 2022, and everything changed. Merritt was shot 7 times during an attempted robbery in Edgewater, New Jersey, flown to Hackensack University Medical Center and rushed into emergency surgery. The extent of his injuries was staggering, multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and neck area sustained during an attempted robbery at a shopping center in the early morning hours. For days, Lil Tjay's life hung in the balance, and the hip-hop community held its breath, not knowing if the 21-year-old would make it. False reports spread, claiming he had been paralyzed or had slipped into a coma. The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office later confirmed the shooting was not random. Mohammed Konate, 27, of New York City, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree attempted murder, 3 counts of first-degree armed robbery, and multiple weapons offenses. Weeks later, signs of life began to emerge. Sources confirmed Tjay was conscious and talking. Doctors had removed his breathing tube, and his voice sounded exactly the way it did before the shooting. In a video he posted to Instagram months after the incident, he spoke directly to his fans with words that would go on to define the next chapter of his entire career. 7 shots, most people don't survive it, but he was here for a reason. He released Beat the Odds, a single detailing his near-fatal experience and recovery, and by September 2022, just a few months after being shot, he performed his first concert. The comeback was nothing short of remarkable, but the scars, both physical and psychological, never fully disappeared. Tjay returned to music carrying a heightened awareness of the violence that shadows artists in this industry. He spoke openly about PTSD and carried the weight of a man who stared death directly in the face in a Chipotle parking lot and somehow walked away. And yet, here he was again in 2026, at another location, in another state, with gunfire once again at the center of his story. Except this time, the allegations were pointing in a completely different direction. The moment news of the Hard Rock shooting broke, the internet descended into total chaos. The combination of Offset's global fame, the existing very public beef with Lil Tjay, and the location, a legendary casino where rappers, athletes, and celebrities move through regularly, created a firestorm that spread across every major platform within minutes. TMZ broke the initial story that Offset had been shot near the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Then DJ Academics became the first and, for a period of time, the only voice reporting the Lil Tjay side of events, while TMZ kept its focus exclusively on Offset. And that created a split in the information flow that made everything exponentially more confusing. You had one version coming from the mainstream entertainment press and a completely separate version flowing through Academics' Kick livestream and social media accounts. The 2 versions did not align. Academics initially claimed Lil Tjay had also been shot during the incident, then retracted that specific claim and updated his report to say Tjay was in custody but had not been shot himself. That whiplash, Tjay was shot, Tjay was not shot but is in custody, created layers of confusion that social media grabbed and amplified to an absolutely deafening degree. Rumors spread about who fired first, who was actually to blame, and whether the gambling debt was truly what sparked the whole thing. Quavo, Offset's longtime Migos collaborator, offered prayers for his former groupmate, and that response carried a particular emotional weight that was hard to ignore. The Migos trio of Quavo, Offset, and Takeoff had already been shattered by tragedy when Takeoff was fatally shot in Houston in November 2022. So for Quavo, hearing that yet another member of his group was in a hospital with a gunshot wound had to land with a heaviness that most people simply cannot comprehend. The group that once completely dominated hip-hop was now connected to 2 separate shooting incidents involving 2 of its 3 members. Then there was Tekashi 69, freshly out of prison, who took to Instagram with his signature trolling behavior, posting, "LOL, I'm clout chasing right now," and appearing in a video driving toward the scene of the alleged crime. The response drew criticism but surprised absolutely nobody, because 6ix9ine has a long and thoroughly documented history of inserting himself into hip-hop's darkest moments purely for personal attention. Still, his presence added yet another layer of noise to a situation already drowning in speculation, rumor, and half-confirmed reports. What made the social media reaction particularly messy was that the $10,000 gambling debt narrative immediately became the default explanation for the shooting across every platform, despite the fact that investigators were still reviewing surveillance footage from the casino and surrounding businesses to piece together what actually happened. People on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were already constructing full, elaborate theories about what went down in that valet area, stitching together the loan, the Instagram captions, and Offset's live stream fight challenge into one clean narrative that may or may not reflect the actual truth. Meanwhile, Lil Tjay's representatives made no comment, and his social media accounts went completely dark, and that silence was deafening. When someone at the center of a story this big goes completely online, it almost always signals one thing: legal involvement and attorneys telling their client to say absolutely nothing. And if Seti Nash's account was even partially accurate, that TJ fired at Offset as Offset was already walking away from a physical altercation, then under Florida law, this would almost certainly not qualify as self-defense. Florida's Stand Your Ground statute requires that a person reasonably believe they face imminent danger of death or great bodily harm, and if someone is already walking away, that legal argument collapses entirely. That single distinction, whether Offset was still an active threat or was disengaging, could be the difference between a self-defense claim and an attempted murder charge. And in Florida, attempted murder carries penalties that could put someone away for decades. There is also the matter of TJ's prior legal history. In January 2023, he was arrested in the Bronx following a traffic stop where police found a handgun in the vehicle, with his attorney claiming the gun wasn't his and the search was conducted illegally. By May 2025, TJ's lawyer confirmed he beat both gun cases. So TJ walked into this new situation without pending firearms charges on his record, but being in custody in connection with a shooting where the victim is a Grammy-nominated, globally recognized rapper is a completely different and far more serious level of legal exposure. And the weight of all of this extends far beyond any courtroom. This is a 24-year-old who survived 7 gunshot wounds in 2022, came back from the absolute edge of death, released music about beating the odds, rebuilt his career from nothing, and stood in front of cameras and told his fans he was here for a reason. The irony that he now finds himself in custody not as the victim of a shooting, but as the alleged shooter, is not lost on a single person who has followed his story. For Offset, the physical recovery looks manageable. His injuries are non-life-threatening, and he will likely be discharged in short order. But for Lil Tjay, the situation is far more uncertain, and the stakes could not be higher. The investigation is still ongoing, the full circumstances surrounding the shooting have not been fully established, and whether this leads to formal charges, a trial, and ultimately a sentence remains completely to be seen. But if the evidence supports the narrative that has emerged, a physical fight, a shot fired as the other person walked away, then Lil Tjay may be facing legal consequences that no hit record, no comeback story, and no amount of fan loyalty can undo. The title says sentenced. The reality right now is that the legal process has not reached that stage yet. But the trajectory of this situation, the custody, the alleged evidence, the nature of the shooting as described, suggests that Lil Tjay's freedom is very much hanging in the balance. And for someone who once looked into a camera and told the world, "I'm here for a reason," the most painful question now is what happens when the reason gets lost. We will keep you updated every step of the way as more information continues to come out.